The City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, Illinois, July 25th, 2022. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Holloman.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held June 27, 2022 as amended, and approval of the minutes of the emergency City Council meeting held July 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So
moved. Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call that vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. The warrant list is approved. Continuing on to the report of the mayor, I'd like to share the following statement. Less than a month ago, on July 4th, our community gathered to celebrate Independence Day, where we experienced the violent attack of a shooter with an assault weapon opening fire on our community's families, friends, and neighbors. So many difficult days have unfolded since that tragedy. Tonight marks another milestone in our journey forward. This is the first time since that horrific day that the City Council is meeting in person in City Hall. 7 precious lives were taken too soon, with more than 50 others shot and injured. Words cannot take away the grief or heal their wounds, but on behalf of the City of Highland Park, we send our deepest sympathies and love to the families of the victims. We will continue to mourn for Catherine Goldstein, Irina McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, Jacqueline Sondheim, Stephen Strauss, Nicholas Toledo, and Eduardo Uvaldo. I ask that we take a moment of silence to remember and honor these individuals and keep all those who were injured and their families in our thoughts. May their memories be for a blessing, and we will forever remember these innocent victims murdered by gun violence. All of us in the city are united in grief, but we're also feeling a tremendous amount of appreciation. Thank you to our brave police and fire personnel, our community emergency response team volunteers, and so many community members who ran into danger to save lives. They did not hesitate, and they responded with courage as they sacrificed their own safety to help others. I am so appreciative of our entire city team and all who have joined together to support our community. They have lifted us up with special care and attention, and we are united in the face of trauma. Collectively, we experienced a violent event that will impact each of us in different ways and at different times. Understandably, many of us are feeling a range of emotions, and none of us are alone in this process. We will encourage and lean on each other, finding the strength to move forward together as one community. Connections to each other and making use of the many programs and services available will carry us through our darkest hours. At this difficult time, it is imperative that we respect and care for one another and recognize that some of us will need more time and extra support. There is no clear roadmap to tell us what to do next, but we will thoughtfully and respectfully make our decisions in a way that illustrates who we are, what matters to us as a community, and what we hope for in the aftermath. If there is a single step or many steps that we can take to save another human life and keep another town from enduring the pain, the agony, we have an obligation to try. No community is immune to gun violence. Action against this country's gun violence epidemic is needed now. We as a community are ready to meet this moment of national urgency. As your mayor, as your neighbor, as a parent, as a child of this city, as a human being, I will not stop trying. We will not stop trying. In the wake of the massacre, President Joe Biden called to share his absolute grief at what had happened to our community. At that time, he invited me to join him and others impacted by gun violence in Washington. On Monday, July 11th, I traveled to the White House for an event to mark the historic achievement of the signing of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. The act is a common-sense bipartisan proposal to protect America's children, keep our schools safe, and reduce the threat of violence across our country. Governor J.B. Pritzker and City of Highland Park Police Commander Chris O'Neill and I had the opportunity to speak one-on-one with President Biden before the event. President Biden agreed with us that the act is a first step to reducing the carnage, diminishing the fear, and alleviating the suffering of the American public, but we need to do more. Last week, he unveiled his Safer America plan that, among other things, includes steps to keep dangerous firearms out of dangerous hands. He stands with us in our effort to federally ban assault weapons and large capacity magazines. He too believes that these, quote, weapons of war have no place in our communities, end quote. I returned to Washington, D.C. last week when Senator Dick Durbin invited me to testify on behalf of Highland Park in front of the United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary. They held a full committee hearing entitled, After the Highland Park Attack, Protecting Our Communities from Mass Shootings. This hearing, the Judiciary Committee's 10th hearing, focused on gun violence held during the 117th Congress, focused on the dangers of widespread civilian access to military-style assault weapons designed to kill large numbers of people in seconds. I provided written testimony and I shared our story about what happened on the 4th of July. Most importantly, I stated that no city, no state can do enough to protect its residents from mass shootings. The federal government must pass a ban against assault weapons and large capacity magazines. And I want to thank those who joined me, my council colleagues, past and present. Senator Durbin offered this sentiment following the hearing, quote, in America, you can no longer go to the grocery store, a movie theater, a 4th of July parade, or send your kids to school without fear of falling victim to another senseless mass shooting. I want those who have lost so much to gun violence to know I hear you, I see you, and I stand with you in this fight for real change that goes beyond thoughts and prayers. I extend my sincerest thanks to Senator Durbin for his leadership and support as we do everything we can to stop these horrific attacks. During the days that followed, I debriefed with federal officials, continuing to ask for resources to help our community recover and pushing for a nationwide ban on assault weapons. I met with Attorney General Merrick Garland and his team. Attorney General Garland offered these words to our community, quote, I grew up just 20 minutes away from Highland Park, so I know that this is an extraordinary community. I also know that you've had to show enormous strength over the past several weeks. The horrific mass shooting that occurred here devastated this community and our country. While nothing can undo this tragedy, the Justice Department is committed to doing everything we can alongside our state and local partners to provide this community with the support and resources it needs as we work together to end the plague of gun violence, end quote. I returned to the White House to meet with Senior Advisor to the President of the United States, Julie Rodriguez, and her team. They expressed their deepest condolences. We continue to discuss the need to pass vital legislation to end and to ask every level of government to end the carnage. They pledge to continue to help us access resources as we cope and work towards taking our next steps together as a community. It's important to note that in 2013, in the wake of Sandy Hook, we sat on this dais and we banned assault weapons and large capacity magazines. We knew that a federal ban would be the most effective, but a local ban reflecting the values of this community was the only option available to us under the law. Nothing has changed, and we need help from all levels of government. We need to pursue all options, and we need to continue to work to save lives right now. In the days and weeks ahead, I will continue conversations with survivors, community support agencies, elected leaders, and our business community. I will be meeting with area clergy, representatives from our sister governments, Lake County Board Member Paul Frank, Illinois State Representative Bob Morgan, thank you for joining us this evening, Illinois State Senator Julie Morrison, Illinois Human Rights General Counsel Betsy Madden, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, and staying in touch with Governor Pritzker and our federal representatives and agencies. These leaders share our values and recognize that protecting the safety and well-being of every human life is paramount, and they understand that we as a community are scarred. They stand with us, and they are already helping us as we navigate a path forward. I've said it before, and it needs to be repeated. This shooting may have attacked our most basic and collective sense of humanity, but it will not define us. Our coming together in the wake of this vicious attack, our outpouring of support for one another, and our heeding the call to action will make tangible differences and speak volumes about each of us in our community now and for years to come. We are one. We're Highland Park. And at this time, City Manager Gita Newkirk will say a few words about our actions over the past few weeks. She will also outline the important resources and other information available to the public. But before I turn it over, I want to offer special thanks to City Manager Gita Newkirk, Police Chief Lou Jogman, Fire Chief Joe Schrage, Assistant City Manager Aaron Jason, Communications Manager Amanda Civitello, Assistant Manager Director of Public Works Ramesh Canaparetti, and Human Resources Director Emily Taub. We are so fortunate to have these professionals leading us through this crisis. They and their teams have led with grace and humility and dedication, while simultaneously they have managed their own trauma and their own adversity. On behalf of all of us, I say thank you, and please join me in giving them an ovation.
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. We will continue to emphasize that the large-scale mass casualty active shooter event that we experienced during our annual Independence Day parade is something that no community should ever have to endure. The purpose of this report is to provide a high-level overview of various actions that we undertook as a city and outline important information for the public as we navigate moving forward. The 4th of July parade is an all-hands-on event for the city and for our colleagues at the Park District of Highland Park. On behalf of the city, we extend sincere appreciation to all of our staff who immediately pivoted from working or attending the parade with their families to executing our emergency response plans. Many city staff have been working tirelessly on the investigation and incident response, all while having directly experienced this tragedy themselves. I am proud to work with such dedicated professionals who are diligently working serving our community during this difficult time. I can't begin to express how proud we are as a city of our police officers who ran directly toward the shooter as the event unfolded, searching for him, searching buildings, and immediately putting into place call-outs to Lake County Major Crimes Task Force and NIPUS, which is the Northern Illinois Police Alarm System. NIPUS is a joint venture of suburban municipal police departments to provide mutual aid in significant emergencies. Highland Park firefighters and paramedics were on scene, and others rushed to the scene to provide emergency medical care, as did our Citizens Emergency Response Team, or CERT. These CERT representatives are resident volunteers that provide assistance and support at various community events. They are trained by our public safety staff and are an important element to the city's operations. Again, these are volunteers. There were also countless individuals on scene who also provided medical care, treatment, and assistance to so many people on site. I would like to recognize Chief Lou Jogman, who's with us in the back, and also Fire Chief Joe Schrage for their incredible bravery, swift work, and outstanding leadership. Without question, we are so fortunate that they are representing our community, and they are unquestionably role models in their respective fields. Our staff from the Public Works Department were also on site at the parade and provided invaluable assistance to emergency responders in addition to taking the lead in restoring our infrastructure after the incident. Their work was incredibly difficult, but also essential to helping our community move forward. Many thanks to Assistant City Manager and Director of Public Works, Ramesh Kanapareddy, and the entire Public Works Department. We are grateful to the 115 government agencies who provided us support during and after the incident, continuing to today. Federal, state, county, and local law enforcement agencies quickly responded, coalesced, and became singularly focused on addressing and mitigating this incident. The partnerships and agreements in place through operations such as the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force, Lake County Emergency Management Agency, Public Safety Dispatch, ILEAS, and MABUS were critical to the city's response and our ability to effectively manage this incident. When we opened the Emergency Operations Center, every individual and organization had a job to do, and we all worked harmoniously in tandem. Our regional partnerships and emergency operations plans serve as an example nationwide on what the benefit of forging professional relationships with regional organizations and what these professionals are capable of accomplishing together when facing violent and life-threatening situations. The city will formally thank all government entities and partner organizations for their unwavering support, again, which continues today, but at every opportunity, we want to recognize them for their swift, professional, and exceptional work supporting and guiding us. On July 4th, the majority of city council members were together as they were walking in the parade, and Steve Elrod, our corporation counsel, was near the location attending the parade with his family when the incident unfolded. The city council and our corporation counsel stayed together as the crisis developed and immediately called an emergency meeting of the city council at 10:45 in the morning. Minutes from this meeting are included on tonight's agenda and were just approved by the city council. Through unanimous approval by the City Council, the city's emergency powers were invoked, immediately giving the mayor and city manager emergency spending authority if needed. I do want to recognize the mayor for her leadership on behalf of the entire community and working tirelessly to have to endure this horrific event for our community and guiding us to, again, to make sure that no community should ever have to endure this nightmare. A special thanks also to Councilmember Michelle Holloman and also our Corporation Counsel Steve Elrod for the amount of time, assistance, and guidance they provided us, and again, continuing to today. As the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force and other law enforcement agencies worked on the crime investigation, our communications team, led by Aaron Jason, Assistant City Manager, and Amanda Civitello, Communications Manager, were working with the FBI, state, county public information officers, providing regular updates to the public about the crime investigation and also resources available to the public. Our website continues to be the hub where these public statements and other valuable information can be found. We post regularly on our e-news. Individuals can sign up for our e-news from the front page of our website. We are on social media. We are providing information to all media outlets, and we have such great professional relationships with all of our government entities serving Highland Park as well as partner agencies. So when they are getting information from the city, they are helping to amplify that to everyone on their networks as well. Through a partnership with the Highwood Library and Community Center and Catholic Charities, we were able to share communication pertaining to this incident in English and Spanish, and we're grateful for their continued partnership. We also used Smart 911 to push out information via email, text, and voice to people who were registered. Smart 911 is a national service, meaning that the safety profile travels with you and is visible to any participating 911 center nationwide. This is important information that can only be seen by dispatchers when someone dials 911. So individuals can provide information beyond just the phone number where they're calling from. Dispatchers have access to information about emergency contact information, places of employment, the number of kids in the home, pets, cars, other information, so first responders can most effectively serve the individuals in an emergency incident. A special feature of this Smart 911 is that profiles we're able to push out emergency information. So when we had the shelter-in-place order, we did use Smart 911 to relay that information to the public. On July 4th, there were approximately 3,000 contacts in Highland Park that were registered with us that received that information. But we want to make sure that every single person is registered for Smart 911. We also want to make sure that that information and that profile that residents or businesses create is also updated every 6 months, which is a requirement of that system. We have a meeting next week with managers and our Public Safety Dispatch Center to debrief the Smart 911 specifically and move forward with a unified regional plan to help ensure that every person has information about Smart 911 and is registered through that important communication modality. Due to the extremely high volume of associated media relations, stakeholder outreach, and other tasks related to the recovery of the incident, the city retained the services of Alyssa Noble, representing AK Communications, to serve as the city's communication consultant, working with the mayor, city manager, and others as directed on a variety of strategic communication initiatives. This contract is on the agenda for ratification this evening. Also included on the omnibus agenda for ratification is a mutual aid agreement with Westchester Township, Ohio, which was put in place to allow one of our former police officers, Nate Maring, to come back and provide us support and assistance for a limited period of time. The city is committed to continuing to serve all those impacted by the July 4th tragedy with resources specific to individual needs. Organizations throughout Lake County have come together with highly trained professionals to assist individuals in finding the support that they need. This is a very high-level organization chart of the Resource Navigation Center that we currently have operating. Ken Fishbane was retained as the city's administrative director, and he's with us this evening. I want to thank Ken for all his leadership and hard work. He volunteered when the resources and services were available at the high school for a 2-week period every single day, making sure that our public has resources and services that they need, and working jointly with all the other partner agencies that were there, as well as the government agencies. So we hired him on for a temporary basis as we continue to serve the public through this resource center. And you can see there the other different committees that were formed relate to case management. We have great partnerships. We're working very closely with Family Services of Lake County, the North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic, Lake County State's Attorney, and both the Highwood and Highland Park Libraries. I'm going to talk about 211 in a moment, but Deanna Olam represents 211 and is managing all the resources to make sure that 24 hours a day, if someone calls and needs assistance, they have services that can benefit them and get them the information that they need. We are pursuing every possible grant opportunity and financial assistance that we can to serve our residents and to serve our businesses. Julie Logan, our Director of Finance, is taking the lead in that regard and working again very closely with all of our partner agencies and also getting guidance from the Department of Justice and other government agencies that have been providing us support. And then you'll see there toys and books. Brian Romes is heading up collection and information. The outpouring of support has really been tremendous and wonderful by individuals, not only in Highland Park, but the entire region and area. And so we are making sure that we have an effective system where if someone comes, needs assistance, that, again, they have toys and books to help guide them as they navigate forward. Through the new Resource Navigation Center, we're offering appointment-based case management services to individuals and identifying services to address their specific needs. Individuals can call toll-free for assistance or make an appointment to meet with a case manager at the Resource Navigation Center. And again, we're so incredibly grateful to 211 Lake County Health Department, Lake County Emergency Management, the Legal Aid Clinic, Family Services of Lake County, both libraries, the Park District, FBI, Red Cross, School District 112 worked really around the clock to make sure that a portion of Lincoln School was available, that it feels warm and welcome. The Art Center came in and provided some artwork to create that comfortable feel. And again, now case management services are being provided at that location, as well as at Family Services and the Highwood Library. So if individuals need assistance, again, 24 hours a day, they can call 211. They can text their zip code to 898-211 or visit the Lake County website. And again, 211 is free, it's confidential, it's multilingual, and it's available 24/7. The Lake County Mobile Crisis Hotline is also available 24/7, so individuals can connect to mental health services. The team helps callers find a safe place to recover if needed. They also provide emergency transportation if needed to shelters, to hospitals, substance abuse centers, and other services. And that information and phone number is located on the screen there. And again, all this information is available on our website. Also on Omnibus is a ratification of a professional services agreement with P4 Security, which provides off-duty police at the Resource Navigation Center during its operating hours, which is Monday through Friday. Community engagement outreach, again, has truly been tremendous. The outpouring of love and support is so greatly appreciated and very much has been helping everyone in the community. We have set up an email at hpcares@cityhpil, so individuals can send their wonderful ideas. We are reviewing everything and coordinating with partner agencies as we talk about and discuss initiatives in the future, such as murals, gardens, signs, events, activities. It is important to note that the city plans to create a lasting memorial in remembrance of the victims based on public input and also input of those touched closest by this tragedy. Based on the advice of the Department of Justice Victim Services experts, we will not engage in this process in the immediate future, as it is important to take time to allow the community and those most affected by this incident to grieve. As it pertains to donations and grants, we urge those who wish to show their financial support to send donations to the Highland Park Community Foundation, which is a longtime local organization deeply embedded in the community and really in the best position to help our neighbors in need. They have set up a fund to directly assist victims, survivors, and those organizations that support them. All contributions to the Respond Fund will go directly to the victims and survivors. And again, that information is on the city's website. Thank you to our business owners for their cooperation and support throughout this investigation. The city has been in constant communication with property and business owners during this difficult time. I do want to recognize Carolyn Hirsch, our business development manager, who has also been working very closely with the state of Illinois, Lake County Emergency Management, and business owners to gather information about business losses and identify ways that the city can support their recovery. Included on the City Council agenda later this evening is a recommendation to support businesses within the incident perimeter of the Central Business District. For those businesses, were required to close for a period of time during the FBI investigation. This Business Recovery Grant Program proposes $500,000 for this purpose, and our Finance Director, Julie Logan, will present this proposal later on the agenda. As part of a citywide recovery and resiliency effort, another fund has been established by the First Bank of Highland Park Bank and Trust, and the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Rotary Club of Highland Park and Highwood. They are taking the lead on fundraising and dispersing monetary assistance to also aid businesses and employees. They are currently acquiring information, and information is on our website about how businesses can apply and provide information that they need for them. On July 14th, the Senate unanimously passed a resolution that was presented by Senators Durbin and Duckworth honoring the shooting victims and thanking first responders, healthcare providers, and counselors for responding to the shooting. We are very grateful for the leadership of our elected officials and the support of all local volunteers, social services, and nonprofit organizations for rallying around our community during this difficult time. We also want to thank our advocates in Washington, as the mayor had noted, for their leadership and work. We also want to recognize our partners, North Shore School District 112, School District 113, Park District of Highland Park, both libraries, Highland Park as well as Highwood, Lake County State's Attorney's Office, the state of Illinois, Dan Eder, who serves as the representative for Lake County Emergency Management, has been a foundation and a rock for us, providing exceptional guidance, and the entire Lake County team, which includes the Lake County Health Department. And then a special thank you to our behavioral health specialist. Dr. Cynthia Plazas was the point person and continues to work very closely with the FBI pertaining to all facets of the investigation and the case. And Jennifer Aiello, who serves as our social services, has been the point person on the Resource Navigation Center and working on those social services. And finally, on behalf of the city, we want to express our appreciation to our community. In the last 3 weeks, this community has truly shown the best of Highland Park. And I know I speak on behalf of our entire city team when I say that we are also fortunate to be part of this community that is so generous, supportive, and caring. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Gita, for being the rock that you are. We appreciate you tremendously. Thank you. Continuing on with our agenda, our next item is business from the public. If there's anybody here who wishes to be heard, you have 2 minutes to share your thoughts. Please come forward.
My name is Herbert Cruz. I'm the artist that drew these portraits of the victims with the American flag behind them. They were located at Port Clinton Square. All 7 of them were displayed on empty chairs, and I thought it was a successful display, honoring the victims, but also providing peace to the people that came to visit. I hope that everybody enjoys them. However, I don't know what to do with them right now. I'm moving tomorrow out of Highland Park. I was a resident of Highland Park above or next to where the shooter located himself, up my back stairs, and I don't feel safe in that building anymore, despite the fact that now they're putting in cameras and there's a security guard in the alleyway preventing people from seeing his stairway or his location on the roof. I hope that the recovery is strong for Highland Park, for all business owners. Unfortunately, I'm probably the first tenant of 9 of us up there in the 655 Central building that is the first to leave. My view from the window was behind the FBI caution tape, so I got to see all the remnants of the objects that were left and all the pandemonium of loading ambulances and covering bodies in the street. So with that, I would just like to thank you for, if you could honor these and put them in a place of honor, or give them to the families of the deceased in a special way.
Well, Mr. Cruz, thank you so much. You and I spoke shortly after the event, and just so appreciate what you've brought to hundreds of people in terms of understanding the humanity behind this tragedy. And I know you'll carry us with you as you head to your next chapter in your life, and just want to thank you for everything you've done for our community. You've been just such an important part as we've moved along this journey, and we'll be thinking of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will absolutely make sure that those are safely held, and we will take care of them. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Mayor, my name is Kenneth Endress. I'm with the Naval Station Great Lakes, representing Captain Williamson. He also extends the relief and grief that your families here in Highland Park has experienced over the past weeks. I was attuned to understand of the sailors that participated and also the residents from the Fort Sheridan Highland Park area that were also in the parade or witnesses to it. I also wanted to extend a thanks to Councilwoman, I just missed her name, who participates as well as Gia in our open lands discussions.
Councilmember Stone.
Stone, yes. And wish to acknowledge their presence and working with us to try to come to a solution of that situation there at the Open Lands Preserve.
Thank you for joining us this evening, and please extend to Captain Williamson our deep appreciation, and we appreciate your partnership and your efforts to reopen this really important part of our community, especially now as people are seeking solace and comfort. So appreciate you joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public who wish to be heard? Okay, hearing none, we will continue on with our scheduled business. Items 1 through 11 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. I'm seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 11. Councilmember Stone.
Can we pull 8 and 9, please?
We can pull 8 and 9, so I'm seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 7, 10, and 11.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions from the council on those items? Any from the public? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. Items 1 through 7 and 10 and 11 are approved. Items 8 and 9, do you wish to speak to them
Yes.
jointly?
Yes, I will speak to them jointly.
Okay.
I've got one comment and I've got 2 changes that were proposed earlier in the day, and I just wanted to make it clean and to put these changes in and make a motion to approve it with the changes.
Okay.
So in the documents, section 4B, I would like to strike the words new and that was sent by Gita earlier in the day. I'm happy to explain why if anyone has questions.
I think we're okay.
And then I'd also like to strike the alternate parking plan from the document, so there's no confusion about which parking plan is correct.
Okay.
That's Exhibit D.
Okay, and those have been forwarded? So-
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'd like to move to approve it with those 2 changes, and then I've got one comment. I don't know if you want that first or...
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do you want to make your comment before we vote?
We can do it after.
Okay.
If I can, Mayor, just to clarify, those are changes to the development agreement, which is
Exactly.
specifically item 9. So, thank you.
Right. Okay. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays, 8 and 9 are approved. What's your
My
comment
comment
related
is,
to those?
regarding the glazing and the build-to zone consideration, the applicant made some very good points that those requirements are appropriate for retail use but not residential, and so I just wanted to make sure that we look at the code to see if there are changes to be made for the future so that it's more consistent with this type of allowed use.
Appreciate you raising that point. We will take a look at it going forward.
Yes, and we
Thank
did
you.
discuss that with the PDC too.
Right. Okay. And now I am seeking, do we need conversation on item 12? I'll read item 12 as an ordinance amending the annual budget of the City of Highland Park, County of Lakes, State of Illinois for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022 for a business recovery grant program. This is specific to business losses due to the July 4th shooting incident. Do you want to provide brief summary of that
Yes,
proposal?
and we do have a short PowerPoint. I'll introduce Finance Director Julie Logan, who will walk us through the PowerPoint. And again, this is a proposed grant program for those businesses that were in the Central Business District that were required to be closed as part of the FBI investigation.
Do you want a motion in a second? Or you use this as discussion, or do you want?
No, she can give a presentation and then we'll have a motion. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the honor of discussing this very important program with you this evening. This is just what we're going to discuss this evening, and we can go right ahead to the next slide. On this evening's agenda is a budget amendment for $500,000 for this Business Recovery Grant Program. The purpose of this program is as follows. We all know the importance of retailers, restaurants, and service businesses to the vitality of the city. And the July 4th parade incident created unprecedented hardship for these businesses, especially on the heels of the pandemic from which these businesses are only just now recovering. The grant program provides funding to offset a portion of lost revenue directly to the impacted businesses from the closure of the incident. So who would be eligible for this grant program? It would be the retailers, restaurants, and service businesses which are on the city's list of businesses located in the central business district perimeter, which was closed July 4th to July 10th due to the incident, and that the businesses must have been closed July 4th, July 10th due to the incident. As the businesses put in their application for this grant program, they'll be asked to make a couple of business certifications. One, that they would pay employees for scheduled work during that period, July 4th through July 10th, up to the value of the grant, and that the grant would not be duplicative of proceeds that they may receive from insurance, donations, or other grants. And then lastly, the business must be current in the payment of city business-related taxes. So how would this all work? Well, it's a direct grant, and it would be for city estimated lost revenue up to the following percentages as listed here. For restaurants up to 75% of the estimated lost revenue during that period of time, July 4th, July 10th. For retailers, it would be 50%, and for service businesses, it would be 25%. So the city would, take the responsibility for the calculation of that loss. The retailers and the restaurants would submit the same ST1 forms that they submit to the state for the last 3 months, and we would use those as a basis. For the service businesses, they don't have that same state requirement. They would submit their internal documents showing their sales. And of course, since we would be relying on an internal document, the businesses would be required to retain documentation to support their application, and the city would have audit rights should that be appropriate. With the grant, there would be a couple of instances of potential payback that would be necessary. If a business that received a grant received duplicative funds from insurance grants or donations after receiving the grant, then the grant would be payable back to the city. And then if the business that receives a grant should leave the city, some of the grant would potentially be payable back to the city. If the business left the city within a year, 100% would be payable back to the city. If they left in the first 1 to 2 years, 50% would be payable back to the city. And if more than 2 years, nothing would be payable back to the city. Now, in the packet, those percentages were different. Councilwoman Stone did have a recommendation that the less than 1 year category be increased from the 66% that was in the packet to 100%. And given that change, staff would recommend that the 1 to 2 year category would be increased from 33% to 50%. The distribution of grants would be limited to the budget of $500,000. The application period would start tomorrow, July 26th through August 19th, and then the distribution period would be after July 19th when feasible. So as the city, if you can just keep on there one more second, sorry. As the city goes through and calculates the revenue loss and it looks at all the applications that come in through July 19th, it would prioritize those. They would be prioritized on an application first basis. And in any case, restaurants and retailers would be prioritized. Next slide, please. So the financial impact to the city currently This is an unbudgeted expenditure to the general fund of $500,000. Should the proposal be approved this evening, it would be an additional $500,000 of expenditures in the general fund. And given that $500,000, staff would recommend that it would be funded by the four sources that are located here. $144,000 from the general fund, ARPA unallocated funds. ARPA is the grant that was received during COVID. As the city planned out the use of that grant, 144 remained unallocated, and staff would recommend that that 144 become allocated to this program. 131,500 of multimodal fund, ARPA 2022 unused funds. This amount was allocated to the multimodal fund, and it was budgeted for 2022. And then looking at the current plans, staff no longer feels that this money will be expended in 2022, and would recommend that this also would get allocated to this program. The last two items are drawdowns from two of the city's funds. It will be within the city council approved policy for fund drawdown. $124,500 from the sustainability fund and $100,000 from the city's general fund. So overall, the ARPA funds of $275,500. The implications of that is basically that the city wouldn't be spending that on other expenditures, and the drawdown of funds of $224,500. The sustainability and general funds have sufficient balance to be sustainable. And with that, I would open it up for questions from the city council.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Littleworth.
Julie, thank you very much for that presentation. It makes perfect sense. I think it's the right way for our city to, as best we can afford, try and make whole so many in our community who are injured in a myriad of different ways. I had suggested that service businesses within the area be included in this. And my only question would be, and I know the funds are limited and we don't know how many are going to apply and we don't know if we have the money to cover it all. So I don't mean to be pie in the sky on this, and I apologize. I was out of town earlier today, or I would have reached out personally. But I would like to see the amount for the service businesses raised from the 25%, because there are so many employees who could not go into work. And similar to waiters and waitresses and people in restaurants, they're hourly employees, or they're living on, that as their wage. And if they lose a week's wages, it's very difficult to do. So whether it's raising it to 50%, similar to the other businesses, or bringing everything other than restaurants to the 33%, I would leave that to your discretion, but I would like to see that raised in a more equitable way. And I know it's harder to show, so I apologize because I know I'm creating work, but I do think there are a segment of our business community that was affected deeply too, and I hate to see them not get enough.
It's certainly within city council's discretion and to change whatever policy is decided here. The program was developed consistent with previous policy making of the city council, and so from that perspective, it is consistent with the views we have had. And given that the retailers and the service businesses report their sales to the state via ST1's forms, we do have some visibility to what that is. These service businesses do not. And so, unfortunately, we as a city, we don't have visibility into what those sales numbers would be. And so I guess I would recommend to City Council that it's difficult to make such a decision without any visibility to what those numbers would be.
You're saying we have visibility with the retailers and with the restaurants.
Correct.
We do not with the service.
We do not with the service. I apologize if I misstated that. We do not.
No,
with
I
the
just want to be
service
clear.
businesses.
No, that's
That
fine.
is correct, because they don't pay the same type of sales tax. The reporting to the state comes from the situation where the other businesses pay sales taxes and these businesses don't. So that's the only concern I would have, and the only caution that, I would have with the city council is that, lack of visibility before we would actually, raise that.
Just for reference, there are 96 service businesses within this perimeter area that would be impacted. And certainly, as Director Logan mentioned, we certainly wanted to include them, but we just thought, again, based on the threshold and past policy, specifically during COVID, if you recall, we offered grants to restaurants and retailers for lost income and service levels. And so we kind of mirrored the program similar to that and included the service businesses, again, as recommended, but at that lower level.
Well, if we were to keep it at the lower level, I'd really like to see if there's a way where going forward, because they are still such a vibrant part of our community, they may not be the types of businesses that we see when we go out to a restaurant or when we go to a store, but they still employ a great number of people within our city, and we want to be supportive of them. So I would leave it to staff to come up with your formula and your way of identifying if this is the 25% you see that's on the pathway, but I'd like to see it at some point move toward a greater equity.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Stone and then Councilmember Stolberg.
Thanks. Thank you, Julie, for putting this together. The one comment I had was in section 2 under eligibility, the description of the locations of the businesses I find to be a little bit confusing the way it's currently drafted. And I had an alternate suggestion, which is just 2 quick sentences. The business must be located within the city central business district perimeter, which was closed due to the July 4th parade incident. This includes the area bounded by Green Bay Road on the west, Laurel Avenue on the south, Elm Place on the north, and the Metro train tracks on the east. And I think that is less confusing than the current wording, which is 3 bullet points, which kind of implies certain streets.
We could certainly do that. We had talked, so Business Development Manager Carolyn Hirsch has a map as well as all the businesses that were closed. So they're all going to get direct communication. And I think just for simplicity, we could just say the businesses that were required to be closed for the period July 4th through 10th. And then if people have questions, certainly we can ask them. But
I think that makes sense if we just remove those bullet points and just say that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Thanks, Mayor. Fantastic job as always, Julie. I know how hard you work. Gita actually answered my question. I wanted to know how we were going to make sure that these businesses are aware that these opportunities are there for them, especially since it opens tomorrow. Forgive me if I missed it in the reading, but based on the allocation between restaurants, retailers, and service providers, is it solely first come, first serve, or is there an allocation? So let's say, because restaurants maybe versus retailers and their amount of sales, is there any type of formula so that we can make sure that the pie has enough to give everybody a little? What happens if somebody's 75% eats a bigger chunk, and by the time someone responds on the 18th of August, all the funds are allocated potentially already?
Sure. Given the preliminary work that we have done and the visibility that we do have for restaurants and retailers, we do believe that there is likely enough to that everyone would get some. We of course are not certain about the service businesses since we don't have visibility, to those numbers. So I can't say from that perspective. Now, should we have somehow misestimated that, right? If the numbers come in significantly different, potentially another discussion would need to be had.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Julie.
And we're going to be having a meeting with the businesses shortly, and we will be sure to share this information with them as well. Councilmember Holloman?
Yeah, I wanted to just say that along those lines, if we get a response and we need more money, can you just come back to us? I don't want to just approach this program as this is $500,000 and that's it. I think we all want to do what we can, and if there's federal funds that we can, acquire later that will backfill this or do something, I think we want to err on the side of inclusivity, and I would move service businesses up to 50% with retailers and come back to us and tell us you need more money rather than trying to scale back in advance. That would be my preference.
And we are absolutely pursuing emergency management funding to address lost wages, because we know that for many of the hourly workers in particular, this has been not just a personally painful and emotionally difficult time, but is now economically causing great strife. So thank you for putting this together. Councilmember Tapia?
Yeah, I also would be in favor of moving it up to 50% for the services. And I'm curious about the decisions that are going to be made. Are they going to be made on a rolling basis during the application period, or are you going to wait to the end of the application period and then make a decision?
We're going to wait to the end. So we're going to let everyone come in, and then, who came in on an application first basis, they would be prioritized first, with restaurants and retailers being, prioritized overall.
Thank you. Seeking a motion on this item, number 12.
Motion to approve.
Well, can we, yeah, can we change the?
Okay, so.
So with the motion, that's generally
So
what
I would move to approve the program as presented by Finance Director Logan by changing the allocation of service businesses to match the retailer at 50%.
And the geography.
Oh, and the language as Councilperson Stone listed, or as Gita recommends, to clarify the geography of the affected and allowable zone for the recipients.
Second.
Can I make one clarification?
Sure.
Before
I'll withdraw my second.
before you vote? So, the businesses in that area were required to be closed. If there are service businesses that were able to remain open by other means, even though they didn't have doors open, the way we have worded it is that is an exclusion from the program. And I just want to make sure that that was clear, that they have to be required to be closed, and they were closed.
I would be fine with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were able to work remotely or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 6 ayes, no nays. Item 12 is approved. Is there any business from the council? Councilman Stolberg?
Just one comment, if I may.
Sure.
I've been involved in a lot of organizations, a lot of boards. I've lived here, with the exception of college, since 1979. And, we see police cars, we see firefighters, and we just take it for granted. And I am so proud to be a part of this team, the way my colleagues acted here on the 4th of July, the way our first responders reacted, not only to help those injured, but to prevent others from being injured. We always sit up here saying it can't happen here, and it did. And I've been a part of too many moments of silence up here. And it would be really wishful thinking to think that we'll never have another one. But I think we know that that's not the case. So I just wanted to personally, I've made it a point of, Chief Jogman, you guys are the real heroes here, because so many other people could have been injured or lives lost. And to you and your families, who you go to work every day and are selfless and help our city, I am so proud to be a part of this team today. So thank you all.
Thank you.
I just want to say me too.
Absolutely. That was the phrase up here. Thank you. Any other business from city staff?
None.
Hearing none, I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we stand adjourned. Thank you. We will take a 5-minute break before we commence our committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.
Here. We're still on.
We're going to stay in here, yes?
Let's see who's still with us. All these people are still with us.
Order the Committee of the Whole of the City of Highland Park, Illinois, July 25th, 2022. Ramesh Kanapareddy, we are starting our Committee of the Whole meeting. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Holloman.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here. And so with that, we look forward to hearing from our friends from the Highland Park Public Library as we continue our 2023 budget workshop presentations. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rotering. I'm Heidi Smith, the Executive Director at the Library, and I'm joined this evening by Bill Ott, the Treasurer of the Highland Park Public Library Board of Trustees. So tonight, this is the agenda we're going to walk you through, and we'll start with our strategic initiatives. The library is long focused on lifelong learning as its main goal in services to the community. The library also focuses on optimizing resources to make sure that we are adequately meeting community needs. We are also focused on our organizational strength and in creating connections throughout the community. Here is our organizational chart that shows how we accomplish those goals. In 2022, a primary area of focus has been seeking architectural professional services for a possible expansion in 2025. In addition, the library will seek fundraising professional services in order to optimize grant seeking and fundraising opportunities to support the possible expansion. In addition to programming, special programming, and grant funding, we are especially proud of the intergovernmental cooperation that we have shared with other community agencies. And thank you so much for your partnership. In 2023, our focus on our strategic plan activities will largely focus on design work for the possible expansion. We will continue to manage our annual budget in order to support library needs that best serve the community. We will pursue grants and identify the professional assistance for 2025 expansion as we mentioned. In addition, we'll continue to identify sources of cost-effective goods and services, and we will continue our focus on supporting the community with information, literacy, technology, cultural services, and programs that enrich and expand the community's quality of life. I'll now turn it over to our treasurer, Bill Ott.
Thank you, Heidi. So this is my first time here, but I'm happy to be here. I got the easy part, actually, since I'm just going to take you through a few numbers that actually haven't changed much. You'd have the 2023 budget summary up there, or up there, or up there. And as you can see, it is essentially a flat budget from both the 22 budget and the 22 estimate. Revenue down 0.6%, expenses down 0.2%. And I thought I would just call out a couple of the larger variances from the 22 estimate to the 23 budget. You see the $34,000 there, which is impact fees, which were higher than anticipated in 22. We expect them to return to a more normal amount going forward. And then that's pretty much it as far as the top line goes. When we get into the expenses, you see personnel costs at down $28,000. That's a little bit deceptive in that what's happening there is that we've had a lot of turnover since the pandemic, which we're gradually going to begin filling positions again in 23. And is there another factor there? Oh, yes. The pension amounts went down, the percentage, so that contributed to that negative expense variance there. The other ones are all fairly non-material, operational. It is worth pointing out that in the programs, marketing, and postage line, the fact that there's a $3,000 increase there indicates something that I think we'll all agree is a very positive thing, and that's our gradual return to post-pandemic normal operation, which you can see numerically more closely by comparing the actuals in 2021 to the 2022 estimate in the 23 budget. You see the costs that were down in 2021, driven by library closings, suspension of programs, staff openings that weren't held till later. So as you see those numbers gradually go back up, what it means isn't profligate spending as much as it is a return to normal operations, which of course we hope is exactly what will happen. So there's the financial overview. Where's my mover here? And so I went the wrong direction. Yes. And the other significant part, of course, of the numbers is the capital improvement plan. And again, as far as 2023 goes, there aren't any significant changes from past years. That 420,000 figure is comparable to past years for the kinds of capital improvement in sort of normal building operations more than anything. Here we have just normal computer updates and things that need to be done, door, windows, framing, etc. The only two that I jump out here, the two largest, the first being the Readmobile, that is the replacement of a long-serving, well-loved, somewhat tired bookmobile, or as we call it, Readmobile, with a new vehicle. And the first significant appearance in the budget of funding for the library expansion in 2025. This amount will be, the plan is to have a architect and consultant, an architect hired in September, is that right? And then, so the design work will actually begin in 2023, and that's what that amount there is. And that essentially an estimate of the same amount of sort of pre-implementation design consulting planning will also take place in 2024. And then, of course, the big number is 2025, when we actually expect to do the expansion.
Do you have a timeline? Do you know how long you expect? Is it 18 months or what's sort of the
timeline for the design work?
Or for the construction, actually?
For the construction? We don't yet.
Okay.
We anticipate that once we have a comprehensive design, we would have a better idea.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks.
And this slide talks about the library expansion funding plan. At this point, there's no real new news here. This is pretty much the same slide Rob Olean showed you last year with the project estimate, which of course is very definitely an estimate at this point. It does include no increase in tax levy beyond normal. and the library revenue and special reserves coming to 1.125. That includes both money we're moving into the special reserves in 22, 3, and 4, as well as the slide says, other fundraising opportunities and grant opportunities, including naming opportunities. And then, of course, the large item is the bond proceeds. So that, for the moment, is the expansion plan. We'll know much more about that as the years go on and as the months go on, actually. And the architect and the planning put some, take those numbers from estimate to closer to what we're planning on doing. And here is our, oh, wait, wrong direction. And finally, here is our fund balances for 2023. As you see, they're healthy and remaining so from January through December, we estimate. And of course, the size, particularly of the special reserve there, is intentional as we're building that up to fund as much as we can of the expansion project through the special reserve. And I think that's it, except for questions and comments.
Right? Any questions? That was terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other matters for the open session? No. Okay. So we are seeking a motion to go into close for purposes of personnel. Is there anything else?
No.
No minutes.
No minutes.
Just personnel.
So a motion to go into closed session for personnel discussion pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C3.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Will the clerk?
Wait, no, 2C3. That's what's on the minutes, or on
Could
the
be something
agenda.
else. Is that the right?
Feel free to call the vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. We will go into closed session. Thank you.
Are we moving?
Oh, yeah, totally.
The correct motion is to go into closed session to discuss personnel pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1.
I still second that motion.
Okay, we have a corrected motion. We have a second. Will the clerk call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. We are correctly going into closed session.
Thank you, young lady.